They understand who I am. Everyone knows who I am. I'm. Most people don't know that Morgan Freeman's left hand won't move. Behind that black glove, he's kept a terrible secret for more than 15 years. It's not just hurt nerves. It's not even close. The condition hurts him all the time. It was too hard for him to sail, fly, or ride horses anymore. His heartbeat also needed to be fixed. What the doctors found out after the accident makes sense of everything. The story that black glove he wears about how he stays alive and hides his pain will break your heart. Morgan Freeman was born in Memphis on June 1, 1937. He was the fifth child and youngest of 5. His life felt like it was being shaped by things much bigger than him from the start. He made $15 to $20 a week cutting hair for his dad. His mom taught school for about $30 a month, which wasn't even enough to feed 7 people. His parents made the hard decision to join the Great Migration just a few months after he was born. As soon as they got to Chicago to work in a factory, their pay went up to $60 or $75 a week. That meant they had to leave their baby in Mississippi while they looked for a way to stay alive. Their trip was 500 miles long, and he felt that distance in his bones before he even knew what it was. He was sent to live with his grandma Evelyn in Charleston, Mississippi, when he was 2 years old. He shared a one-room house with his sister Iris that didn't have pipes or power. During storms, it shook so badly that people nearby were afraid it would fall down. He only took short trips with his parents in the summer. Went back to Evelyn when school started up again. That small house was his world for 4 years, until Evelyn died in 1943. He was 6 years old. That loss made him less stable than he was before. He was sent to Chicago for good out of the blue, and he hated the cold, the concrete, and the never-ending gray. The warm weather in Mississippi was like a dream that he couldn't wake up from. Life moved him like a leaf in the wind after that. As a child, he moved around a lot, living in Greenwood, Mississippi, Gary, Indiana, and Chicago. In Gary, he shared 2 beds with 8 other people in a small apartment. They slept in one bed together sometimes. Because he moved around a lot, he had to change schools a lot. He had been to at least 4 grade schools before he turned 12. His mom worked 2 shifts to keep everything going. She taught and cleaned houses. He found out he liked being on stage in a school play at Broad Street High School when he was 9 years old and back in Greenwood. Everything was a mess. He began to save up change from any small job he could get in order to buy movie tickets. There, he saw Gary Cooper, Spencer Tracy, and Sidney Poitier, and he felt like something was pulling at him. Then something happened that made everything different. He pulled a chair out from under a girl he liked named Barbara when he was 12 years old, in 1949. It was a silly way to get her attention. His teacher was very angry. To punish him, she dragged him to the acting group and made him act in the competition play. He played the younger brother of a soldier who was hurt. The stage seemed to light him up. His school won first the district title and then the state title. He won first place in the statewide competition for best acting. All of this happened at Broad Street High School. During that time, he also found music and even played on a Nashville-based radio show. It turned into a door, and he walked right through it. But he almost died when he was 16. In 1953, he worked so hard at school that he barely had time to eat. He felt poor all the time, and it hurt his body a lot. He got pneumonia, which turned into an abscess in his lung. The pus-filled sac in his chest burst one night. He began to bleed and needed to get blood from someone else. His family was afraid he wouldn't make it through the night. The next day, when he finally got to the hospital, doctors saw that he was seriously malnourished. He stayed for 2 weeks. After the fact, he said it made him stronger in a way that lasts even after you face death and leave the room. In 1955, when he was 18, he joined the Air Force instead of going to Jackson State on a dance scholarship. Getting into the military was his dream job. As a child, he used to watch war movies in the summers in Chicago. He wanted to fly like the heroes he watched on TV. He had 4 brothers, and 3 of them joined the service too. It was in the family. He thought about flying through the sky instead of sitting in school. But when he got there, the real world hit him. He was put in charge of fixing automatic tracking radars. From 1955 to 1959, he sat at a desk and fixed radars that watched for coming planes. It was important work during the Cold War, but he didn't want it. He hoped for a pilot spot for more than a year. Along the way, he became airman first class and learned discipline, patience, and technical accuracy. But his dreams stayed out of reach. It all changed when he finally sat in the wheel of a fighter plane. He said that he was sitting there, looking at the buttons and switches, and felt like he was in the nose of a bomb. The glitz he had imagined was gone. He knew that he loved the thought of flying more than the act of it. Plus, he didn't want to be the one who killed anyone. That moment broke a dream he had had since he was a child. He got out of the army with honors when he was 22 years old, and he went straight to Los Angeles to become an actor. He worked as a clerk to make money and went to school at Pasadena Playhouse and Los Angeles City College. He also tried tap dance. His acting lessons didn't teach him much, so he relied on his gut. There wasn't much money around. He came to New York in the early 1960s. It was his job to sell donuts in Penn Station. He kept trying out. He danced at the 1964 World's Fair. Before 1967, it was hard to get a good part in an off-Broadway show with a scary name. It was a start, but it opened and closed quickly. What he learned in the Air Force stuck with him. What he did was shaped by his discipline, the steady way he solved problems, and the patience he gained by waiting for chances that never came. He turned into the calm character that people know from the TV show. The person who studies people like he studied radio equipment. As time went on, he even got his private pilot's license, so he could finally fly on his own. But he didn't really become famous until 1986, with the movie Street Smart. This was 27 years after he was released from prison in 1959. Between 1971 and 1976, he worked for the power company for 5 of those years, where he read simple books. In 1967, he was in an all-black production of Hello, Dolly with Pearl Bailey, which ran for a year and paid him about $10,000. He was up for a Tony Award for The Mighty Gents in the late 1970s. From October 22, 1967, to November 18, 1979, he was married to Jeanette Adair Bradshaw. Their small theater pay made it hard for them to raise 4 kids together. He didn't give up, even though no one seemed to care. He returned to New York and found work everywhere he could. He danced at the 1964 World's Fair. During the 1966 season of The Royal Hunt of the Sun, he filled in as the star for one show in Des Moines. He said that night he had a realization. In 1967, he got a job off Broadway that paid $72 a week. He was so happy that he could finally breathe. From October 12, 1982, to May 14, 1984, he worked on the soap series Another World. He was an engineer hired by Frame Construction named Roy Bingham in the role. It gave him steady work while he was waiting to get into movies. It connected the stage and the screen. In 1968, he really got his big break on Broadway. A friend was hired for Hello, Dolly but was fired after a while. The producer called Freeman and said he knew he should have hired him the first time. Freeman got a call that put him on Broadway. The show was led by Cab Calloway and Pearl Bailey. It got great reviews. Jones made $200 a week and learned what it's like to work in show business. He was still under a lot of stress at home during all of this. He had 2 sons before he met Jeanette, and they had a daughter together called Morgana in 1971. Jeanette also had a daughter that he adopted. In 1967, the Nigger Friends brought him $5,000, and in 1969, the Dozens brought him $6,000. In New York, it was very hard to raise a family on that much money. After that, he joined Pauly in 1970. He first worked as an assistant and then took over as lead. For the part, he got $15,000. He was put in a different kind of light because it was one of the first big Broadway shows created and led by black people. Morgan Freeman started working for the power company in 1971, when he was 33 or 34 years old. Everything changed in children's TV the moment he walked onto that PBS set. He wore a wig, smiled coolly, and read in a soft way that made reading seem like fun. The cool kid thought he was a great reader and thought books looked like gold. Up until April 15, 1977, 780 episodes of the show were filmed for 6 seasons. It won an Emmy for Outstanding Children's Series and a Grammy for its music. The author didn't just write about one character. At work at the Reeves Teletape Studios in Manhattan, he slipped into Count Dracula, Mel Mounds, and a few other people. He still didn't like his job. Later, Joan Gans Cooney said it was a sad time in his life, the kind where you have long days, endless takes, and the same scenes over and over again. Freeman quit the show in 1975, 2 years before it finished, but old episodes kept airing until October 4, 1985. Millions of people remember the character Easy Reader, who was named as a fun take on the 1969 movie Easy Rider. And his performance made a whole group of kids think reading was cool as they grew up. As the 1970s came to an end, he wrote more important stories. In 1979, he was in Roots, The Next Generations, a CBS miniseries that followed the story of Alex Haley's family. It played during prime time and a lot of people saw it. There were scenes with James Earl Jones as Alex Haley in the project, which had strong themes that reached across different time periods. Sergeant Chips was played by Freeman, but facts about his character are hard to find today. Even so, it happened at a time when he needed to take a break from kids' shows and watch something more important. He was about to land something even heavier right after this shift, so the time was important. By 1980, he was in Attica. Not the jail, but the world that was built for the March 2, 1980, premiere of ABC's TV movie Attica. It was about the jail riot in 1971. This movie had a group with names like Anthony Zerbe, Charles Durning, Henry Darrow, George Grizzard, and Glynn Turman. When Freeman played Hap Richards, reviewers paid attention right away. Some reviewers said he was great as an older, wise black man who tries to keep younger men from making bad decisions. Even though he wasn't as old as the character, he carried the weight of the story like he had lived it. 5 Primetime Emmy nominations were made for the movie, and 1 was given for Outstanding Direction. That night was a turning point. People in the business started to look at him differently. He showed that he could handle big fires, which led to opportunities he had been waiting for years. During this time, his personal life was very important to him. On October 22, 1967, he married Jeanette Adair Bradshaw. At the time, he was still getting over his time in the Air Force, 1955 to 1959, and learning acting at Los Angeles City College. They got together and made a family. Their daughter was called Morgana, and Freeman took in Jeanette's daughter, Dina. They were together for 12 years while he looked for work in show business. But the stress around him kept getting worse. On November 18, 1979, they split up. That same day, he moved from Roots to Attica and his business did really well. She was no longer seen in public after the split. It is said that she is worth between $1 and $5 million. It's possible that they stayed friendly, but no one knows for sure. The stress of those years left its mark. In 1980, there was another big change on the stage. In the movie version of Mother Courage and Her Children by Ntozake Shange, Freeman played the priest. He also played Coriolanus at the New York Shakespeare Festival that same year. He got 2 Obie Awards at the same time, which was a big deal. He was 43 years old. He had been after small parts for years before he got the kind of praise that every stage actor dreams of. The chaplain was a complicated character. He was a man torn between religion and war, which was very different from the happy world of the Electric Company. Those 2 wins changed how people in New York saw him and pushed him to the next level of his journey. The gospel then came to Colonus. In 1984, he played the messenger in Lee Brewer's controversial play that mixed Greek tragedy and African American church. The show's bold style got a lot of attention when it opened at the Brooklyn Academy of Music in 1983. 5 blind boys from Alabama played the part of Oedipus. Freeman led the crowd through music and text like a preacher telling a story. Millions of people saw it when PBS showed it on Great Performances in 1985. For this role, he won his 3rd Obie Award. When he played it again in 1985, he got a Drama Log Award. With each step, He moved away from the problems he had been through in the past and toward the role he would play in movies. In the same year, his personal life changed again. In 1984, on June 16, he married Myrna Khalili, who dressed people and painted. A friend put them in touch. He was 47 years old, and she was born in 1941, so she was about 43. They decided to live a quiet life away from Hollywood and moved to Tallahatchie County in the north of Mississippi. She never had her own kids, but she loved his 4 kids like they were her own. Things looked stable for a long time. But even when he moved to the country, the stress of Hollywood followed him. There were rumors that they were having affairs, and by December 2007, they were no longer together. On July 8, 2008, she filed for divorce under secret. On September 15, 2010, a judge made it official. Freeman hit a point in his life that he had been waiting for 50 years by the late 1980s. He was already 49 years old when Street Smart came out. During the movie, he played Fast Black, a dangerous pimp who followed Christopher Reeve's character into the story. No one was ready for the force with which he came on screen from a man who had spent years working in children's TV. When it first came out in December 1989, the movie was only shown in 3 houses and made a total of $63,661. But they were very harsh on him. They said he took the whole movie. He later said that Fast Black was his favorite act that was nominated for an Oscar. That movie got him his first nod for Best Supporting Actor and really showed that he was here to stay in Hollywood. Due to his desire to be a part of an important story, he even took a pay cut for his next movie, Glory. Soon after, in 1989, Lean on Me came out. It was Freeman who played Principal Joe Louis Clark, the person who went into Patterson's East Side High School and kicked out 300 students in one day for fights, vandalism, drug use, and other reason. Clark walked through the halls with a baseball bat and a loudspeaker. In December 1987, he almost lost his job because he chained exit doors shut. There was so much stress in the school that even the teachers were being pushed by gangs. In January 1988, the Patterson School Board tried to charge Clark with disobeying orders. Hundreds of parents and students crowded into the meeting and yelled, "Where will we go without Joe?" Reagan learned about Clark's work and later offered him a job as a policy assistant. Gave Clark's toughness and heart in equal amounts. "The bat is a choice, a strikeout or a home run" was one of Clark's best lines. After that, in 1989, they drove Miss Daisy. Hope Colburn was played by Freeman. He played opposite Jessica Tandy, and the movie had a quiet dramatic weight to it. He got a Golden Globe win and an Oscar nomination for the part. This time it was for Best Actor. He had played Hoke on stage before, so it was easy for him to take on the part again. The movie was filmed in the Druid Hills area of Atlanta, and 822 Lowwater Road was where Miss Daisy's house was located. There was a sad scene in the story where Daisy's synagogue is bombed, which dealt with racism and anti-Semitism. There was also a time when Hope drove her to the Piggly Wiggly, which started to make the line between them less clear. After that, the movie showed her going to a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speech while her son, Bully, stayed home. People remember small scenes like these for decades after the fact. That same year, Glory came. There was a story about the 54th Massachusetts Infantry, which was one of the first African American fighting units in the Union Army. Freeman played Sergeant Major John Rollins. Even though it only cost $18 million to make, the movie showed one of the best fight scenes in the Civil War ever, especially the attack on Fort Wagner. Shelby Foote was in charge of technology. Again, Freeman took a pay cut because he believed in the story. The movie only opened in 3 screens and made $63,661 in its first weekend. The same amount of tickets sold at its opening as Street Smart, but it went on to make almost $27 million. He won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and the movie got 2 more for cinematography and sound mixing. The movie was held together with honor and power by Freeman's performance. In 1994, Morgan Freeman played Shawshank. He had such a natural voice for Ellis Red Redding's calm voice that people still quote him today. It was good enough that he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor at the 67th Academy Awards, but Tom Hanks won for Forrest Gump. What no one saw was how tough that movie made him. Frank Darabont kept asking for more takes of the baseball shot from the yard, so Freeman threw that ball over and over for 9 long hours. He didn't say anything when he showed up the next morning with his left arm in a sling. The group used real tar that dried too quickly when they filmed the scene where they tarred the roof. So everyone had to work quickly to match the recording he had already saved. Darabont looked around and saw a team member quietly crying after a lot of takes. That's when he knew they had the scene for good. Tim Robbins felt his own kind of pain. It was not only cold and muddy in that famous rain shot where he raises his arms to the sky. He was in a creek that was full of cow poop. Even a scientist told him the water was dangerous. Still, he walked in, held his breath, and let the moment happen. And somehow, the hardest problems turned into scenes that make the movie what it is. The very next year, in 1995, Freeman went back into the dark with C7N, this time as Detective William Somerset. At the studio, no one had high hopes. The movie made $3 million because David Fincher fought so hard for his ideas. It cost more than the $30 million it was supposed to, going up to about $33 or $34 million. It made C7 in the most expensive New Line Cinema movie ever at the time. People in charge were worried about the violent tone and mixed test screenings, but the crowd responded in a way that no one saw coming. Over 12.6 million people watched CCCN's first weekend, which was the most ever for a September weekend. After that, it kept going up until it hit 327.3 million people around the world. It made $100.1 million in the United States, making it the 7th highest grossing movie of 1995 and beating Die Hard by a large margin. Fincher told Freeman and Pitt that the movie would be happy, but that people might not remember it very well. He was wrong in the end. Because the movie became a part of all of their lives. Freeman was chosen by Steven Spielberg in the 1997 movie Amistad as Theodore Jodson, a freed slave who fights for the rights of captured Africans. Freeman had a strong connection to the subject. He said that he had always thought that America hid this part of its history. He talked about ways to keep slaves that worked like farms He talked about companies where everyone had to work to stay alive and how important it is to accept that people have a common past instead of putting up walls between them. He said that if he kept thinking about how much pain his ancestors were in, he would feel compelled to make someone else feel guilty. People should remember that past is theirs, no matter how painful it is, and that the movie should help bring them together. The next year, in 1998, Freeman made history in a different way. He played the first black president in a big science fiction movie. His work on Deep Impact put him in the Oval Office before Barack Obama did in 2008. The movie used cutting-edge industrial light and magic to show comet hits and damage around the world, but Freeman's calm performance as President Tom Becker was what made it stand out. That people remembered. There were people who watched him and wondered if his performance had quietly helped Americans get used to the idea of a black president. Others, like James Earl Jones in 1972, Chris Rock in 2003, and Dennis Haysbert in 2024, had played fake presidents before Freeman, but his part was the most well-known. It became the standard for years to come in Hollywood. On February 27, 2005, something happened that many people thought would never happen. At the 77th Academy Awards, Freeman got his first award. At that time, he was the oldest African-American actor to win an award. For his role in $1 Million Baby, he won Best Supporting Actor. He beat out strong competitors like Clive Owen, Alan Alda, Jamie Foxx, and Thomas Hayden Church. In 1987, he was up for Street Smart, in 1989, for Driving Miss Daisy, and in 1994, for Shawshank. His name had been heard in Oscar rooms for almost 20 years. From the very first scene to the very last, his powerful narration about death and kindness kept the movie grounded. He couldn't believe he had won because he said it didn't change him at all. After a few months, Christopher Nolan cast him as Lucius Fox in the Batman movies, which put him in a whole new big world. From 2005 to 2012, Freeman made exactly $5 million for each movie, for a total of $15 million for the 3 movies. He was very smart and calm, which helped him play the part, especially when Fox had to balance high-tech monitoring with questions about power and privacy. The numbers that went with the series were huge. The Dark Knight made over 1 billion copies around the world. It was 1.005 billion for The Dark Knight Rises. They helped Freeman make more than $11 billion at the box office over the course of his career, which includes more than 100 movies. The story used his character as a moral to show how dangerous technology can be when no one asks how it is used. When Freeman played Nelson Mandela in the 2009 movie Invictus, it was almost like a personal calling for him. Mandela said that there was only one person who could play him. Freeman meant what he said he would do. He went to Robben Island twice and studied the cell where Mandela had been locked up for almost 20 years. He tried to figure out how the man had quietly changed and how kindness had become his most powerful tool. Freeman practiced the walk, the calm voice, and even the way he breathed. Critics said that he caught not only the look but also the spirit of the character when the movie came out. It got him nominated for a lot of awards and confirmed something he had always thought: Mandela's story could change the way people think about leadership. He had been in charge of the camera for the movie B of A, which was set in South Africa in 1980, many years before. As the country moved toward the end of apartheid, he was in charge of scenes of police raids and citizen protests. Mandela was freed in 1990, but the elections that year were still not over. Freeman took the movie at a weak point in time, when fear and hope were living together. His goal was to show how a black police officer might feel torn between job and morals. He said that the story put the man in a bad situation because following the law also meant following unfair rules when he talked about the movie in Toronto. The movie helped Freeman become known as more than just an actor. The world could see that he really cared about important stories. In the same decade, he reached one of his most important commercial achievements. Everyone was shocked when Bruce Almighty, which came out in 2003, made $484.6 million around the world on a budget of $81 million. 3 days before Memorial Day, 67.9 million people saw it, which was a record. In its second weekend, it even did better than The Matrix Reloaded. It was the fifth most successful movie of 2003 and Jim Carrey's most successful live-action movie ever. Freeman's soft smile in his roles as God made his scenes stand out. But his life changed in a way that no one saw coming just 5 years later. He was 71 years old when he drove a 1997 Nissan Maxima on Mississippi Highway 32 with Damaris Meyer in the back seat. Around midnight, they were 5 miles west of Charleston, close to his ranch, when the car went off the road. It turned over a lot of times before falling on its back in a ditch. Freeman was awake the whole time and even made jokes with people who tried to take pictures of him. An editor in the area named Clay McFerrin remembered Freeman saying, "No freebies," when phones came out. Later, Freeman admitted that he had lost consciousness while driving because of atrial fibrillation, a dangerous heart rhythm problem. The wounds were terrible. Most of the damage was done to his left side. He hurt his elbow, shoulder, and arm. The next day, on August 5, 2008, doctors worked for 4 hours to save what they could. Pins and plates were used to fix the bones, but the nerve damage would not go away. His left hand would not move at all. In 2010, he told People magazine that the pain had never gone away. In quiet but painful ways, it changed his life. Soon after, doctors told him he had fibromyalgia, a disease that makes nerves hurt deeply and makes people tired. His left arm hurt like fire all the way down it. He had to stop sailing, which he had loved since he was a kid. He tried one last time, but the boat would not go back to where it belonged. He left for good because it broke his heart. He stopped flying planes too. Put down the horse and took a step back from driving fast. He got a pacemaker in 2009 to help control the atrial fibrillation. It was even hard for his heartbeat to stay steady. With the start of the black compression glove he started wearing around 2013, people took notice. He wore it again to the Oscars in 2023 and 2025. A lot of people thought it was a fashion choice. It wasn't. He needed it to keep his crippled hand from getting too full of blood. Without it, his hand would swell up and hurt a lot. He wore the glove every day, even when he was making movies, like Comeback Trail in 2020. He still moved with an injury because of how he held his hands behind his back at the 2025 EJV, 25 Oscars. He didn't stop, though. After settling the case with Meyer in 2009, he went back to work. He wasn't going to let his limits stop him from working. He kept calling them changes instead. He did some work on Invictus. He worked on brand new movies and TV shows. He kept going because stories were a part of him, just like they were when he first chased his dreams on stage many years ago. When he walked across the Oscar stage again at age 87, the glove told a story of pain and beating it. People said he never fully healed and never would, but he kept showing that his voice, his calm presence, and his spirit were more important than any body part.